These people inside the Hollow Earth have been living there for 2,500 years. There is one continent inside the Earth and one ocean. Their capital city is built around the original lost Garden of Eden. The vegetation grows like a paradise. The people live to be up to 800 years old. They communicate with telepathy. The inner Earth people have built these androids that fly their flying saucers out to reconnoiter the outer Earth. Our government has been knocking flying saucers out of the sky and back engineering these flying saucers. The people that live in the Hollow Earth are not extraterrestrials. They're from the lost tribes of Israel.
In the inner Earth, they are us who descended into the Earth 5,000 years ago. What life is like there is it's different. There's a crystalline city, virile technology, sort of like a constant twilight, which is why a lot of times their skin is colored green or even blue. Psychic ability of communicating without having to speak. There's a lot of mythology about 2029 and 2030 being the time when the inner Earth people come back, when our world is no longer ruled by an evil cabal.
Heard about the Agartha network conspiracy theory? It's the idea that the Earth is hollow and a secret society called the Agartha network lives inside. They supposedly have advanced technology and supernatural powers, and control major events in human history from underground. Some people even believe the entrance to their world is in Antarctica. But there's no scientific evidence to support this theory, and it's widely regarded as a conspiracy with no basis in fact. What do you think? Let me know in the comments.
Stories from Irish, English and European folklore mention the underground people that reside in luminous caverns on the remote landmass known as Security, or ethereal place. Apparently that location was some kind of entrance into the Hollow Earth, which exists beneath the Yamalski district and Tazovsky district of the polar Ural Mountains. From the perspective of the Nenets or the Samoyed, just outside the town called Selatkard in northern Russia, there had once been an invisible portal that led into the Hollow Earth.
You and your team went into the inner Earth. What was the mission and how did you get there?
Well, we used portal technology. And there'd be anywhere from 10 to 15 people in the group.
Once you get into the inner Earth, how do you move around? Do you walk? Do you drive? What do you do?
Yeah, we basically hike the whole way. I mean, it's all on foot. All on foot. I mean, some of these places are so vast. They're many, many, many miles. I know one of the longest ones I remember was about 6 miles in diameter.
That's pretty hefty.
Yeah, and so yeah, everything's on foot. We do have assistance with special types of robots and other cybernetic type beings.
Did everybody have a specific purpose?
Yes, everyone had a specific purpose. Some people were teamed up too, as twos.
All right.
Everyone was always monitored. Everyone kind of always knew where everyone was. But you could actually walk a mile or two in these, these areas, these jungles and these lakes and things like that. And in some lakes, you'd have to be careful because they're very acidic. So you couldn't really, just go in there. You'd probably burn out.
Eat you away. Right?
Yeah, and melt right down.
I mean, what's the worst thing you've seen there that may have happened to one of your crew members? Did anybody die?
Only things I've seen are the videos from past adventurers that have went into these things.
So they showed you videos.
Oh yeah, we
some of this.
Many. Yeah, before even going into a mission, you get to see all the prior missions. It's part of their training, so you know what to expect. You know what trees not to touch, what animals not to touch, when to run.
What is then the most horrendous thing you've seen on video? What did you see?
Probably was the lake was pretty bad.
Somebody jumped in there?
Yeah.
You sound emotional here.
Well, they just touched it with their foot. They didn't.
And lost a foot?
Yeah. I mean, it was.
It's just like
they were
ate it away?
Yeah, it was like acid. Yeah, didn't make it. So.
Now, you saw this on video or
just
you were
on
there?
Video.
Through a polar opening into the interior of the Earth. There, they met who he called the Elder Race, friendly, intelligent, lanky, 12-foot giants. He said later they were able to grow tall in this unique electrical energy field that was always there inside the Earth, and that these giants were able to live up to 800 years. Jensen described the inner world as warm, where it rained once a day and was filled with highly charged electrical air. There's a density to the atmosphere, he said. The ancient Makushi Indian, they're said to be the guardians of an entrance to inner Earth, and they describe the journey and the beings in vivid detail. They say for 15 days you must traverse through caverns until balls of bright light and glowing discs appear inside the Earth. There, a civilization of coloring, eyes, often avian or bird-like heads. The children of Woolpit. Reapers in the area one day discovered 2 small children who had skin with a pale green hue and who spoke an unknown language. And though starving, ate only raw beans. The boy soon died, but after many years in acclimation, the surviving girl finally explained that she and her brother had come from a subterranean land where the sun never shone, and where the light was more like twilight, saying they'd become lost when they followed their cattle into a cave, eventually emerging onto the bright landscape. Willis George Emerson tells the story of Olaf Jensen's incredible journey to Agartha and the 2 years he spent living there with his father. Jensen and his father were traveling in their small fishing boat in an attempt to find the land beyond the north wind when a windstorm in nature where energy expands and returns to itself. We see it every day in an orange, a whirlpool, a tornado. It's in the atom, the galaxy. None of these is a dense system. In all legends, these civilizations tell of 2 beings, very tall giants or very advanced reptilian races. Strangely, flying airships have remained a consistent part of all Inner Earth stories, every one of them. In Africa, a similar tunnel was believed to connect the secret chambers at the base of the Pyramid of Giza with the subterranean world, by which the pharaohs established contact with the gods of the underworld. Ancient Egyptian deities like Ra, Thoth, Anubis had qualities unlike humans: unique height,
Will give you shivers. Today I learned that this American explorer and military official allegedly came into contact with a lost civilization in Antarctica while out on a mission named Operation High Jump. But this wasn't just any civilization. This was a civilization in Hollow Earth. Now, if you didn't know, for thousands of years, people from all across the world have been writing legends about Agartha, the underground city. Now, during Operation High Jump, which was the largest mission to Antarctica to date and lasted around 6 to 8 months, Richard Byrd wrote in his private journal about a mysterious land beyond the North Pole, which he called the center of the great unknown. It is rumored that when Admiral Byrd's task force got to Antarctica, one of the first things that they discovered was an entrance into a hollow earth civilization that was populated by very advanced beings. Now, just like all of his previous expeditions, he would always document all of his experiences and discoveries in his private journal. And according to what he wrote in this journal, the government ordered Byrd to remain silent for what he witnessed during his Antarctic assignment. And here is some of what he wrote. I've just attended a staff meeting at the Pentagon. I've stated fully my discovery and the message from the master. The president has been advised. I am now detained for several hours. I am interviewed intently by top security forces and a medical team. It was an ordeal. I am placed under strict control via the national security provisions of this United States of America. I am ordered to remain silent in regard to all that I have learned on the behalf of humanity. Incredible. I am reminded that I am a military man and must obey orders. Admiral Richard Byrd died in his sleep of a heart ailment at the age of 68 without ever sharing any more evidence to the world that what he witnessed was true.
According to the God myths, what happened was that, which goes all the way back to an event in history. The Battle of Troy was started because Zeus was a lover of women. And he was screwing around, and his screwing around started a war between Greece and the city of Troy. Athens and the city of Troy, which started a war among the gods. And over that problem, Zeus was sent to the underworld, and Apollo took over. Okay. Remember, gods are not supposed to be able to, according to us, they can't die. They're just sent to the underworld. We really don't know what that means. Okay. I guess that means they're not around anymore. So if you kill somebody, you didn't kill them, you just sent them to the underworld. Just remember that. But anyway, Apollo took over, and Apollo wanted separation between the gods and man. He withdrew all the gods to his summer home. And this summer home is supposed to be where the giants are located. Okay. We're talking about giants in a different day, but all these people around the world always describe, there was a very famous book that was written about two fishermen that wandered into this area when they was fishing off the coast of Russia back in the 1800s. And they wrote a book about their travel inside the earth, and they came across these giants inside the earth and all of this stuff, and they met the ruler and everything, and these giants was huge, 30, 40 feet tall, and they had red hair. You keep coming across these red-haired giants in North America. Remember, the American Indians talk about when they first came to Turtle Island, the United States, what Turtle Island is what the Indians call North America. They said it was ruled by the giants. And the giants first tolerated the Indians until their numbers kept increasing. And then friction broke out between the giants and the Indians. Okay. And they was fighting over food and resources. And the giants started to devour the Indians. They was eating them for food. This is the same story that is in the Bible. And the Indians fought the giants and pushed them back into their caves. Isn't that a weird story? We keep hearing things being pushed back into caves. And the Indians talk about these red-haired giants and how they pushed them back into their caves. And then when people go inside, they talk about there's giants inside the earth. And they don't say that there's dinosaurs and giant animals. They say inside the earth there are animals that resemble mammoths and prehistoric animals. They're not dinosaurs and prehistoric animals. They're just giant animals that resemble mammoths and prehistoric animals. You see how we like to do a war on words where we like to confuse you. Okay. Also, a lot of our alien friends. When we track our UFOs, do you know the North and South Pole have more UFO activity than anywhere else in the world? What are they doing over there? Having a conference? Is that the opening where they come in and out? According to the books, that inside land, see, we don't know if it's a continuous area inside or if there's several pockets or is there giant spaces. We don't know because they won't allow us in there. But from what the book says is that they're not inside the earth singing a giant kumbaya. They're not exactly getting, everything in there is separated. The giants live in certain areas. What they call the Nagash or the lizard people live in certain areas. The gods live in certain area. Everybody live in their section. Okay. And I guess that's how they keep the peace down there. You stay in your area, I stay in my area. Okay. You don't bother me, I don't bother you. Surprised we can't do that up here. Up here we like to invade people's area. Okay. And they've been content to leave us alone. And we, I guess, left them alone. But now, something changed. It changed. Everything goes back to 45, 46, 47. Because when we started playing with nuclear power, the people on the inside started getting kind of nervous. That is the only thing that they're kind of afraid of. Because now the crazies have a weapon that can affect them. See, as long as we was on the surface doing what we wanted to do, they could care less. We was just the crazies that lived on the surface and they lived on the inside. But now that we got, weapons that bother them, now they're starting to stick their heads up. Now they're talking about in the future we need to be together again. On the surface. They're still not going to let us downstairs. That is their area. But this is where the opening is located. Above Greenland, near Russia. Okay. And no planes are allowed to fly over that area. And that area is listed on very old maps that you're seeing on that picture there. It's called the point of inaccessibility. Okay. You don't see that mark on new maps, but if you look in old atlases from the 1960s, 1950s, and before, there's an X at that spot that says point of inaccessibility. Is the point that cannot be reached, what that means. And at the South Pole, there is a point of inaccessibility, which is marked on old maps, that cannot be reached. How can there be a spot on the earth that cannot be reached? And this is what old sailors in the 1800s couldn't figure out. They kept trying to reach the North Pole, and they could get up to the 85th, the 86th parallel, and once they started getting, they could sail for weeks, and they never could get to the 90th parallel. Okay. That's the reason there's this point of inaccessibility.
The story of the lizard people in New Zealand. The native Maori people of New Zealand tell stories of reptilian lizard people that live in big pockets in the inner earth, where they have a civilization and would come to the surface where the Maori people would see them. Some Maori have stories of them being vicious in nature and would attack breathing fire that would cripple and even kill them. Other Maori have stories of them being more friendly in nature, where they would see and meet with high-ranking chiefs. In fact, some Maori chiefs were told to have carry similar blood to the reptilians. This is told to be the negative blood type that some Maori people still carry today. The reptilian lizard people were told to have shown respect to this blood group, and if a high-ranking chief died, the lizard people would have been seen in the mountains by the Maori people showing respect to the one who had passed. There is also a story of a Maori man who fell in love and married a woman from the inner earth. The story goes that there was a group of people who had come to the surface from the inner earth and were seen by the river by a Maori man. In this group was a beautiful woman that the man instantly fell in love with, so he proceeded to woo her and eventually married her. They both lived in the surface until one day they had a big fight and the woman decided to go back to the inner earth. The man grew sad that his wife had left him and returned to the inner earth. So he decided that he would go to the inner earth civilization and win his wife back. It was told that he had to travel many days and nights down caves until he finally reached the civilization. There he found an advanced civilization with a beautiful city and many different beings. He also noticed that some of the humans had tattoos and the man had facial ones, and he was told that the reason that got them was to show that they were men with knowledge and power. In fact, some say that the facial tattoos were depicting the reptilian beings, the most power, theist and respected beings in the inner earth. Looking at Maori carvings and Moko, and then at reptilian beings, there are similarities in nature. Knowing that facial tattoo meant great power, the man got one in hopes it would win his wife back, and in fact it did, and both of them returned back to the surface, where they lived the rest of their lives. Some people say this man was the one who brung tattoos, Moko, to the Maori people. Are the stories of the reptilian lizard people true? Did they really exist, and is there a civilization in the inner earth? Or are the stories just legends and fairy tales? Keep your minds open. Mind Blown 1111.
1947, the idea of an occupied Hollow Earth became a major news story when the famous explorer, Admiral Richard Byrne, set off on reconnaissance missions over the North Pole.
It's rumored that when Admiral Byrd's task force actually got to Antarctica, that one of the first things they discovered was an entrance into a Hollow Earth civilization that was populated by very, very advanced beings.
And when Byrd got back to the United States, he was brought back to Washington where he was questioned very heavily about his statements. And allegedly he was told to stop talking about this.
Say government. However, may I ask you, is there a great difference between the top of the world and the bottom of the world?
There is. Now, the North Pole is the center of an ocean 10,000 feet deep. The South Pole, the center of a plateau 10,000 feet high. The North Polar Sea is surrounded by continents slightly frozen. The Antarctic continent is surrounded by a belt of ice, frozen seas of at least 1,200 miles thick. Now, the south is a plateau. It gets, in some places, 14,000 feet up. I've been over areas about 13,000. And it's a little bit chilly up there. So there's that big difference between the top and bottom of the world. The North really isn't very cold up there on the Arctic Ocean.
Not compared to the South. I don't know very often.
We've found enough of coal within 180 miles of the South Pole in a great ridge of mountains. It's not covered with snow, enough to supply the whole world for quite a while.
Well,
that's the coal. Now, there's evidence of many other minerals. We are pretty sure there's oil. Now, that coal shows the bottom of the world. Now, by far the coldest spot in the world. Where that coal is gets 100 below zero in the winter.
Well,
it was once tropical. So we think there's oil there, and there's evidence, probably uranium there.
Is it any secret? Is there uranium there? That would be the only thing that would be practical to actually go after, I suppose. Everything else would be economically unfeasible, wouldn't it?
Well, as we recklessly expend our resources, the time will come when we'll have to go after that stuff down there. Well, you know, I avoided what you said about uranium. I'm not sure about that. I don't want to have the world fighting over the Antarctic.
And Robert, is there a competition among other nations to try to get information about Antarctica and possibly to secure some of these resources?
Well, yes. There are now 7 nations very much interested. Russia is interested tremendously. That I'm sure of. Australia has an expedition down there. The Argentine, the Chile, New Zealand, Britain, and so on. Now, you can understand those people down there being interested because they live down there, the New Zealanders, the Argentinians, the Chileans, and Australians. And so we don't do much about claiming anything.
Admiral, you make this sound a little crowded. Are there that many expeditions now there or en route there?
Well, you know, as I said, it's the most peaceful place in the world, but I don't think it will be for long because of this intense interest on the part of other nations and this nation.
Well, Admiral Byrd...
This video is from 1915, showing the use of a smoke screen, released to mask the movement or location of military units such as infantry, tanks, aircrafts, or ships. The most common mixture for generating smoke screens was a zinc chloride smoke mixture, consisting of hexachloroethane, grained aluminum, and zinc oxide. This was combined with hydrochloric acid, which absorbed the moisture in the air, forming thick clouds that could obscure vision. Do these remind you of anything?
Hollowed out mountains in Denver. no, we're going to talk about this. I went to Colorado Springs, Colorado about a couple months ago with some people. And the guide, we went on like a electric bike ride through the mountains, and the guide literally told us, yeah, that mountain right there, they hollowed it out and put like they hollowed it out and put stuff in it. And
This video is completely unrelated to Colorado. It was a promo video about the Giant's Causeway in Ireland.
Well, hello from the Giant's Causeway on the north coast of Northern Ireland, where we have some incredible breaking news for you today. There have been unconfirmed reports that the giant Finn McCool has gone into winter hibernation. Now, earlier today, one second. Oh, well, this is exciting. Earlier today, we're being told tourists and National Trust rangers saw the legendary Finn disappear into a magical doorway within the rock face here at the Giant's Causeway. Right, I believe we have some footage that has been taken on a mobile phone. Let's have a look at it.
look.
Well, that footage is absolutely incredible, isn't it? Well, earlier today, tourists, historians, geologists, architects and giant experts all congregated.
This is the Hollow Cheyenne Mountain Complex in Colorado Springs, Colorado.
At the height of the Cold War, Cheyenne Mountain in Colorado Springs was chosen as a perfect location for a nuclear blast-proof command and control center to defend against long-range Soviet bombers. Up until 2006, it was the command center for NORAD, or North American Aerospace Defense Command, and the United States Northern Command, protecting America and Canada from threats in both the sky and space. Since relocating 15 miles away to Peterson Space Force Base, the Cheyenne Mountain Complex remains a backup command center, sharing its granite mountain interior with more than a dozen government and Department of Defense departments, some so secret they can't be named. Central to the command center is the North Warning System, an array of short and long-range radars in northern Canada, Alaska and elsewhere that recently helped track the Chinese spy balloon incidents. Work is underway to upgrade detection systems to reflect increasing multi-domain threats. So could there be a Stargate inside? Probably not, but a hollowed-out mountain is sure to keep anyone with an active imagination wondering. Stuart Rumble, Forces News.
It's for educational purposes only. Man, little buddy passed out.
Mañana vamos contra el Atlético de Madrid. ¿Para qué la avientas? ¿Qué es eso? ¿Qué es eso? ¡Ve, vamos! ¿Lo viste? ¿Lo viste? Sí, ¿lo viste? Ahí está. Fue.
largest underground chamber on the planet.
It's not just a cave. It's an actual world in Vietnam. Inside this cave, it's 40 stories high. There's actually an ancient forest. It's got flowing water, not just a puddle or a stream, but an actual river. Inside the cave is an entire growing ecosystem. And it's so deep that it looks like it's an entrance to a whole other reality.
This incredible subterranean realm, called the Songdong Cave, is estimated to be roughly 3 million years old. It runs through the earth for nearly 6 miles, and numerous areas where the cave ceiling has collapsed allow sunlight to enter, resulting in the growth of trees and other vegetation.
There it is, in all of its glory. We go all the way inside this time.
Space station near filming entrance to the inner planet.